Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at Three Valley Copper's channel. Just want to let you guys know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be running through company updates, running through industry updates, answering any questions you guys got. So if you have any during any of this, don't be afraid to send them over. And of course, introducing members of the team. So who better to join us to kick us off than President, CEO, and Director Michael Starsinik. Mike, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks for the opportunity, and good morning to you.
Good morning to you as well. So let's kick it off at the beginning, okay? So tell me about your past experience and tell me what got you interested in this field in the first place.
No, absolutely. Really, my background has primarily been in the asset management industry, with the last decade plus kind of in the resource sector of asset management with a company called Sprott Inc. This is a public company in Canada. It's a global asset manager that actually specializes in the resource sector. I also had the pleasure of working directly with the founder of Sprott Inc. His name's Eric Sprott, for several years, observing his mastery of investing unfold right in front of my eyes. Quite honestly, he's a brilliant, thoughtful, and decisive resource investor, and it's really difficult to think of others that are his equal. And if there are, it's probably a very small group. But by trade, I'm a mix of finance, investing, public company leadership, and capital markets. I've been in the public company umbrella for 20 plus years, so it is a comfort zone for me for sure. It was only last year, though, that I transitioned from my executive role at Sprott to lead Three Valley Copper here. And this is a project where I believe there's outstanding potential, and hence I kept with the company. Interestingly, and this is, you're going to have to follow me on this one, Three Valley Copper used to be the private equity investing arm of Sprott Inc. So we transitioned ourselves from a private equity fund into a pure play copper mining company. That's unique in itself. So I come from, at least in the last 10 years, from a private equity type of background, and now have transitioned into leading and running one of our cornerstone investments that was just an investment before. Now, that transition was really premised on a thesis that our investment team developed back in 2016 about copper. As part of that investment team, and at the time also the CFO, and as a resource private equity fund, we had several resource-based investments, but we're increasingly being attracted to copper. We loved the fundamentals of copper, just loved them, and had a high conviction on the future, what I would call decarbonization of the world and the coming electric vehicle revolution. This is now starting to play out nicely with new incremental increasing demand of copper, and that's being choked by this suppressed supply visibility. A combination that, for me, back in 2016 was a thesis, but now is becoming reality, and it's going to be demanding of higher copper prices for many years to come. And that led us to our project in Chile, this Minera Tres Valles. And I won't say that too many times because I'm going to get tongue twisted, so I'll refer to it as MTV. It does loosely translate to Three Valley Copper, so we retained some nostalgia there when we changed our name back in June. We purchased that majority stake in 2017 after we developed our thesis in 2016, and our eventual transition to a pure play copper mining company. We sold our legacy investments, portfolio investments from the private equity fund over the last few years. And this included things like iron ore, met coal, a farming interest, gold, amongst others, to direct those proceeds into building and supporting our copper project in Chile. Long-winded answer, but once I start going, I sometimes, you may have to put the reins on me, Michael, so I apologize. So let me pause there for your wording.
No worries, Mike. Well, it sounds like you cut your teeth in a very prestigious way. I mean, almost everybody in I would say the gold industry knows Eric Sprott, right? I'd say he's a very well-known individual, and it's interesting that you worked with him there. And I would say you guys were very, very correct in your vision of what copper would turn into in the future, at least so far. The trend seems to be pointing heavily towards, hey, we're going to need a lot more copper going forward to push the EV or decarbonization market, as you had described. So then, Mike, from there, can you tell me a bit more about what your role actually looks like now? Tell the people what you're actually doing on the day-to-day for the company.
Yeah, I mean, let me start with part of the role, and I don't want to just reflect on me. That's only one piece of the puzzle and one piece of my role, but there's many layers to this, and they're all needed for something to be successful. Yes, I'm the public face, and hence I'm doing this, and I enjoy doing this. But most importantly, I'm tasked with building this company and executing on the plan that we have shared with our shareholders, that we've shared with our investors, our potential investors, and other stakeholders. That's the goal here.
Yeah.
Equally important, and actually very much entwined with that statement, really is building the right team to deliver on this. Although I have resource background in asset management, I'm not a miner. And so our success is team-based. I will bring a different philosophy and a different way of looking at things. And I actually think that is a bonus and is an attribute that is positive to many other companies that maybe come from a traditional mining deep background. And so building this right team is so very important. It's team-based, it's success-based, and they're linked together. And this will continue as we grow, but believe we have already laid this foundation. And I want to highlight a couple of individuals. I'm not just going to focus on myself because it's not fair. I'm going to mention 3 guys right now. And although I can talk about others, I do have to limit myself. Otherwise, as I mentioned, I'll keep going when I get passionate about things. But so first I want to speak about Joe. Joe Phillips is our CEO. This is the guy you want overseeing a mine expansion and a build out. And that's what Three Valley Copper is. He's commissioned, he's constructed, he's operated, etc. Bunch of other words and verbs you want in there. 11 plants and mining operations in 13 countries across 5 continents. And 7 of those have been in Latin America. So this guy, I refer to him as the godfather of mining. He knows Chile, he's bilingual. He has worked in Chile. He has held various C-suites across a plethora of companies. This guy has a sixth sense that only comes with experience, and Joe has that. So I'm tickled to have him as part of the team, and he has been with us for a couple of years. I'm going to highlight also Ian McNeely, who recently joined us as CFO this year and brings over 20 years of executive financial management, capital markets, and leadership experience in the junior mining sector. So this is a weathered guy. He understands it. He's an entrepreneurial at heart and is the ideal partner to oversee this young and growing company with us. He's been an outstanding addition in the short time that he's already been here. Next, I'm just going to highlight the last person, which is John Mortimer. We recently retained him a few months ago to lead really our fledgling exploration efforts. This is the first exploration efforts in years, and a first substantial one. And I could not imagine engaging with another individual. And why this is really interesting is John now operates his own consulting practice after leaving BHP, big mining company, well-known name, don't have to speak to that company at all, where he was instrumental to them in discovering copper in Chile. John was involved in discovering some of BHP's largest copper deposits and since went out on his own. He spent many years in Chile, knows the climate, knows the geology, knows the people, and most importantly, he knows copper. This is his commodity, full stop. And probably the single most interesting part about John on this project is when we purchased the project back in 2017, we weren't the only ones at the table. There were other firms bidding for this project. Thankfully, we got it. We didn't have the highest price, but we had the most compelling pitch. And I found out after the fact that John was actually an exploration consultant for one of our competitors bidding for that project. So it's amazing how the world can, 2 degrees of separation. So when John was introduced to me, he was already half pregnant in this project. He knew so much about it and couldn't be more excited to come on and find, not if he finds copper, it's when he finds copper, because he loves the property. He's already knows a lot about it from a prior life and has his sleeves rolled up and is really excited to get back into it.
Wow.
Now, as I mentioned, there's a bunch of others I could talk to, and I don't want to understate their importance, but I'm cognizant of time. So I'm just going to kind of calm down.
Yep. Mike, there's definitely a lot of passion in you when it comes to your team here. And, you're 100% right. It takes a village to raise a young company, just as it takes a village to raise a young person. And it seems like the people you have on board with you here are star-studded, very well seasoned, really set out to be the perfect team to really lead Three Valley Copper down the road you guys are aiming for. But Mike, last but not least, tell me, back to you a little bit. Tell me what you are most excited for, say, over the course of the next year for Three Valley Copper.
Sure. I mean, this is probably the easiest question to answer when anybody asks me. This next year to 18 months is going to be, we're going to go from a yellow amber signal to a flashing green advance. We're going to have priority seating at every concert event and everything. We are building our underground project. That is our main focus right here, right now. This year, we expect to be completed by the end of this year, possibly leak into the beginning of next year. And that, what I will call, is our build year. So that's 2021. Our 2022 will be the ramp up year, and 2023 will be, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that should be the gangbuster year. That will be at full production. We will be drawing from our underground mine that has been fully constructed. That takes, around a year to be ramped up, and we'll be at capacity. And, not to get ahead of myself, but it should print money. So that's the focus here. Get that done. And then the second tier, or I would say the parallel route that we're going with this, is John's work in exploration. I view our differentiators in two baskets. One is we have this infrastructure. It's already built for us. This was a Vale project, and we can do this on another call. I'm not going to go down a deep rabbit hole here, but Vale, big Brazilian company, this was their project before. They sold it for reasons that I won't talk about now, but they're all positive reasons for us, and it was their lost opportunity. So they left $250 million of brand used infrastructure in Chile for us. We paid 20 cents on the dollar on this thing. We're going to fill it now with ore from deposits that Vale found and that we're funding in order to access. So that is our first differentiator, that we're ready to hit the copper super cycle now. The second differentiator is we're sitting on 46,000 hectares of land. Now, whatever metric you want to call it, 460 square kilometers, almost 120,000 acres, it's massive.
Yeah.
And John's exploration program that he's putting in place right now looks at less than 1% of the property. And so between his results that we expect in the first half of next year and the growing of our ore production from our underground high grade, low cost mine, this is, we're on the edge of a really, really interesting, fantastic story for shareholders. And we just look for continued support, and we're going to get there.
Wow. Yeah, Mike, it really sounds like the way you put this all together, you guys are definitely in the right place, and you've got the right team, and it is the right time for copper right now. So lots of exciting stuff in the future for you, Mike, and everybody. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions for Mike, let us know, and we'll happily dive into them. But for now, stay tuned, and we'll dive deeper into the company for you guys next time and further updates. But for now, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Michael.